There is a process that we're going to talk about, which will invite community input and have conversations not just within this setting, but with other stakeholders and community members all throughout the entire process. So we'll talk a bit about how that gets done. And towards the end of this conversation today, we'll figure out what the next steps will be. In specific, how often this particular committee, local planning committee, will meet, when we will meet, and what time of day we'll meet. We picked this particular time just to get started, thinking that most people would have some time in the morning in order to be able to jumpstart this committee. But we'll invite suggestions from the members as to what might be more convenient for moving forward. That said, I'd just like to review some of the responsibilities and the privileges of being a member of the local planning committee. The first and foremost, since this is the downtown revitalization initiative, is to really help establish what the vision for the downtown will be. It means brainstorming ideas, providing instruction and direction to we, the consultants, as we move forward through the work. It's reviewing the drafts of the documents that the DRI actually will produce. It will help. It would also involve helping us reach out to various different populations within Hicksville so that we are able to get their input. Because not everybody's going to be able to make each and every meeting. Not everybody uses the internet. Not everybody uses various different forms of media. So we're trying to do a broad cast of different ways to get people together. And then to help us identify and prioritize the projects that we will look at for this particular session. Then also at the very end, we're going to develop and submit the strategic investment plan for this downtown revitalization initiative. We have some resources to pull upon for this committee. Two of those people are from the state. One is from the Department of State. That's John Ashton. He's a fellow signature. And then we have Dominic Martello, also from the state, from HCR, who's over there. Those two people help to organize the DRI and will provide a great resource for this body to call upon if you have questions about the kind of projects that could be funded through this process, even some of the aspects of it. I will be one of the people as the primary contact person with those. So if you have final questions to me, I will make certain that they get to Dave. So the consultant team is composed of a bunch of different people. In this process, the Empire State Development Corporation, in conjunction with the Department of State, runs the DRI program. And last spring, they had issued a call for different firms to respond to this request for proposal. My firm responded, and at that point, it was unknown what township we might be partnered to. The state, in essence, accepted applications from 10 different downtowns that they eventually awarded, and then they matched us up as consultants with each of those townships. So our team was very lucky to be paired up with Hicksville. So the team leadership is done by HKS. We're primarily an architectural urban design firm. We have as our public engagement specialist a group called Zedman Communications. Patrick Henry, sitting at the end, represents that group. For our market studies and economic development strategies, we have public planning. Todd Poole here represents that group. We also have Borough Happel Engineering, who will be our traffic engineer. Langan is going to focus on utility infrastructure and been for understanding order of magnitude costs we have Long Island based with Hamilton Taylor. And because this is the first time that you're getting to meet we, the master planners and team leaders here, I thought I'd just show you a few projects to give you a sense of what we've done and what experience we're bringing to the table. One of the things that we have done recently, and this is very much aligned to this particular assignment, is working with civic leaders in downtown Toledo and figuring out a strategy of how to use and leverage their best asset, in this case being the river, so that it can encourage greater economic development. Similarly, in St. Petersburg, in Florida, the city was interested in taking property that surrounded a baseball stadium. It was a Major League Baseball stadium with a Tampa Bay Rays play, and seeing how much additional development could be done around a stadium. We just completed that piece of work. We also did a piece of work in Stamford, Connecticut for a private developer who was very much interested in leveraging the waterfront, but also the proximity to the train station there for higher density residential development, and this project is coming up. More recently, we've been working for an institution, this being St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, on their campus, figuring out how to bring new buildings within that established campus and still keep a sense of smallness that is very appropriate for how we deliver care and research. On the other spectrum, we've done very large things. Randy Morton, who is the principal with HPS as a part of our team, had worked with Cecil Backlor, one of our senior designers, on the Hudson Yards framework, now almost 15 years ago, 10 years ago. That framework was looking at redeveloping a large section of the west side of Manhattan, 3 blocks. And when the developer was finally chosen, we had helped Tishman Slider work on their particular proposal for that build-out. And this is a depiction of some of the open spaces that we were proposing to set then. And on the smaller scale end of things, Randy was the designer for Chicago Park. And I think for the kind of projects that we're looking to do out of this $10 million grant, it may more be on this scale of things. We are mostly looking from the materials that we have read and the comments that we've already heard, and invite certainly many more comments, that there's a great desire to have more spaces for people in Hicksville to gather. Maybe it's kind of space. Hopefully it won't be an Occupy Wall Street kind of space. So the responsibilities of the consulting team consist of just helping to prepare and organize meetings for the LPC, do the public outreach organization, to continue to do research and investigate issues that come up in the LPC committee, but also to actually help you guys identify the projects that want to be supported by this committee and the citizens of Hicksville, so that at the end of this entire work process, we have honed in on the things that matter most to you, and the things that we believe can be best implemented using the funds that are going to be supplied by the DIR's program. So the overview of the program is that we're in the second round, as it were, of the program. It was established last year. The state has put in $100 million and have identified 10 different downtowns that they thought could leverage each $10 million for different projects that could help turn the tide for them. And so in this round in 2017, Hicksville is one of those. So these specific strategic investment plans will help fund not only public sponsored projects, but also consider sponsoring private projects, particularly if there's a a gap in the funding that's necessary in order to make that project happen. So these are the 10 different sectors that the DRR program has broken the state into down here. But there are others that are undergoing the same process simultaneously. So what the program that we're working on now is trying to build on the application that was submitted. In that application, there were certain desires, but the clearest desire here was to have a very robust project control process. So the process that we're going to undertake in this committee is to help refine the vision. Fortunately, you guys have been working on what you think should happen in downtown Hicksville for nigh on a decade. So I think people have a good sensibility about what those things are. So what we're trying to do in these sessions is to update that, confirm it with what we think this particular time frame needs and what kinds of things might get started now that have a long-term impact for the better on Hicksville. Simultaneously, we'll be focusing on the goals and how we can reach those things. But more specifically, we're going to be working on practical strategies for how to make that happen. So I mentioned there's going to be a public engagement process. At minimum, we're holding 3 public workshops. The first one will be on district priorities, effectively doing something similar to what we're talking about here, but talking to a larger audience. The second one will focus on district projects, and the third one will speak more directly to strategic investments. So our first public workshop will happen on November 9 here in this room. That is a Thursday. We'll start at 7 p.m. and run approximately till 9:30. We are planning to have it with a small presentation in the beginning to get people oriented in an overview, and then go through small conversations about specific issues. So I hope to see everybody in this room there on November 9. Bring your friends, bring your family members. So the ingredients of a DRI plan entail these things. It needs to have a clear vision for downtown, identify the specific goals and strategies to accomplish that vision. Again, Hicksville has done a lot of work to get there so far, so this is a lightweight right now. But more specifically, we're going to have an action plan with a timeline for these projects, initiatives, and actions. And that's the primary work of this LPC membership. So I hope you guys are all ready to dig down into that process. And ultimately, we'll have a strategic investment plan with those catalytic projects identified so that we can hold an implementation plan. And there's a bunch of different particulars that the DRI plan needs to meet in order to satisfy the Department of State's requirements, and they kind of break down into the vision plan and the project profiles. But we can get into that further as we break down into smaller conversations. So the DRI is bounded, as you see here, pretty much the central business district. The LIRR station is the prime asset within this district. And I think everybody understands that that's what we need to leverage with almost all of our strategies for growth and investment here. So with all of the work that's been done, what has culminated is a proposal for rezoning that was put out in 2016. The notion was to, in the yellow area, to focus on transit-oriented types of land uses within that region. Some of that might include higher density residential, putting retail underneath residential, increasing the FAR, floor area ratio, for building types. All those things are proposals, those are ideas that are being contemplated, nothing's been put forward for approval and voting. So part of what this group can do is weigh in on what kinds of things may occur for this rezoning. That rezoning had a vision, which was prepared in 2010 by A.E. that pretty much looked at a variety of uses. I know that this is a little bit difficult to view at this point, in part because they put north-south. So relative to the plan that is here, this point is that one there. I guess we could turn it over. So this is a starting point for us. It had identified a couple of different projects in it, and the application also identified various different projects. So we'll talk a lot about this. I think this is a very important slide, and hopefully if there's nothing else that you take away from this meeting, this is one that you're looking at. Then, as we've been mentioning, a lot of district planning going on prior to the 2001 Hicksville Hamlet Plan, the 2004 Hicksville Vision Plan, the 2010 Downtown Hicksville Revitalization Action Plan. And in 2014, there were the two applications, BOAs, Northwest and the Southeast, and the 2016 rezoning for the CBD. Now, we're here. This is an important moment in this flow of investment. This is the time when we have to take a breath, look at what it is that we're trying to accomplish, and then put it into action. The DRI grant was awarded in August. September 15th is when we had the first conversation and convening of the township with the consulting team. The process is to be completed in March of 2018. After that, the investment plans should start to flow into the future and bring boards. So specifically in this 5-month time frame that we're looking at, we're starting with an analysis of the district, a review of the documents that have been done, giving the project team an ability to chat with you guys so that we're up to speed with what you think is most important. We're then moving directly into identifying those priority projects through exploring and testing different ideas and seeing how well they might fit or not. Then coming up with a strategic investment plan. All of those three activities are consistently informed by our public engagement conversations. So we'll have a public workshop November 9. We'll have another one likely in December. Haven't picked that date yet. And another one in February of next year. So the project types are plentiful, but there are some things I'll just underscore so the membership of the LPC can keep that in mind. Is that the funding of the $10 million will not go towards planning activities, will not go to staff costs or training expenses. It really is focused more on bricks and mortar, things that would make the physical environment improved in Hicksville. So that could be from publicly identified spaces and possibly for projects. Again, it's mostly looking at private projects that are in need of gap funding that would be considered here. So I want to take you through a few little observations that we've had a little bit of time on the ground here to make. So very clearly everybody recognizes that Hicksville has a marvelous connection to the rail system, that getting from many parts of Long Island to Hicksville allows an express train to go right into Penn Station. The flow of people, because of its location, means that we're seeing a lot of potential to capture people's dollars. We have a lot of potential to build up the value of real estate adjacent to the train station. The question before us is how to do so. We also recognize that Hicksville has this marvelous north-south connection. One of the things that you guys have done back in the 60s was to widen that roadway. The roadway in the 40s was more narrow and had an intimacy of scale component. And in part, the zeitgeist of the 60s wanted to speed cars along and to accommodate great volumes of cars. This is what we have today. So I don't think we could bring back the imagery and the character of the 40s. But the question is, what can we do to bring it forward, move it onward? A couple of things that we've been, of course, noticing. I know that you guys live it every day. But it's just the general level of congestion that starts to build up. At certainly specific points of day, but it happens a lot throughout the day along Broadway, which if we're suggesting that Broadway is the locus of downtown activities, the conflict of that traffic volume with what we're trying to encourage with pedestrian use of a downtown begs how we're going to actually ameliorate and support one kind of activity versus another. There's lots of places for improvement, specifically around the train station. One of the strategies I know that you guys are focusing on is, okay, to this motto here, let's replace your gas station with a train station. I think that's a very good way to think about how to leverage the asset that's here. Bringing people through this area, I think, is the right first step. How do we leverage that even further, and how we deepen that is something that we're going to explore in this committee at great length. So we did a little doodle just to start figuring out on paper what some of those thoughts might be, looking at the train station extension. And you don't have to squint at this too hard because you might have to pull on it back long. This is just putting on paper some ideas about what happens when we think about not Broadway being downtown, but maybe it's a downtown district and around the train station. It's just one of the things that, based on our experiences and our observations here, is one of the directions that we would like to explore. So at this point, since we're at 9:15, and we want this meeting to run through about 10:30, I'd like to start talking about some of the ideas that have already been put forward in the DRI application and get people's thoughts about what we might want to support, what we might want to get rid of right away, or things that we might think about that even aren't as part of this list. So there was a notion of a downtown path that would link a lot of the areas within the downtown region. There's a notion of having an elevated community space, dubbed the High Line. There's a notion of having an event space, a pedestrian plaza. The notion of mini parks for this area. The notion of having greater signage that would link these different things together and create a distinctive identity for the region. And there's the notion of mitigating traffic. I think that's a no-brainer. Just how we go about do it so that other land uses are better supported. So let's just pick on somebody, and we'll pick on Tony. In this list of things, which one do you think you would like to, if you had one choice, which one would you choose to put forward?
Traffic mitigation.
Okay.
Even the fire department and, our responses are an issue. So traffic is a problem, which we know. We're all in favor of it. Revitalization, but traffic is just an issue.
And is there something out of this list that you would say don't need to invest in at all? Okay. Is there something on this list that you don't see that you would like to add?
No, right now, no.
Rebecca, how about you?
It's a tough call for me. The High Line's been sort of my adopted child, but I think the pedestrian plaza, from the meetings that I've been at over the last decade, it seems like the common theme is people want a hometown feel in Hicksville. They want it to kind of return to that, right? That's like a feeling. And so whether it's done through an elevated community space or a pedestrian plaza, we tried it with the farmer's market, like we tried several times to find that. So I would say that community congregation, whether it's the first or the second option, is very important.
And is there anything on this list that you don't see that you'd like to add?
Does parking fall, like parking issues, do they fall under the purview of this same committee, or is that separate,
Sure.
that's a planning issue?
We're open to all things right now.
I think parking is a major problem for people in Hicksville.
So you would like to see more parking provisions?
No, I'm not saying that necessarily. I'm just saying I think we need kind of a, in conjunction with these things, which are hopefully going to bring more people, I think we need to come up with an idea of where these people, hopefully they'll leave their cars at home, but if they have their cars, we need to think of where to put them.
Sunita, do you have comments?
Well, as a parent, and I'm thinking of the future generations, I like the idea of the pedestrian plaza, where the families can get together and feel that community feel. I know we tried that in the farmers market, and if you rush there on Sunday mornings, and you have that to take advantage of that. But I definitely think the pedestrian plaza is very important, because that's what's missing right now. I think parking is an issue with the city. You have all these wonderful things, but where are you going to park? You go to these things. You have a plaza, where are you going to park? You go to the plaza.
Paul, what would be some of your ideas?
I like the pedestrian plaza. That was one of our focuses there on expanding JFK Park. And now that would be, taking that one parking lot and expanding the park. I've always been big on traffic mitigation, as many people in this room may know, that raises traffic mitigation. As if you establish a pedestrian plaza and event, you do parking. Right now, the town of Oyster Bay parking garage is closed on weekends. If you're going to have weekend events, that would be an option to have that open to the park. And all the rest of the, I like all the ideas.
Oh, you should mention what you just whispered, which was the idea of using garages in
Yeah, well, that's
additional
the
ways.
town of Oyster Bay parking garage is closed on weekends. That's 1,400, approximately 1,400 spots. That if they open it up on the weekends to the general public, which the parking lots around the town, the train station, are open to everybody on the weekends. You don't need a permit. Right there, you have 1,400 potential available spots to accommodate any events on a weekend.
Ryan, do you have thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yeah, the High Line and the pedestrian plaza really excite me. I'm 30, my wife is 29. We constantly bring our friends into town, and round one has been a wonderful thing to be able to invite people from out of town to meet us. And my son is in second grade. He's looking for places he can play with his friends that aren't so high traffic. I live on Twin Walls Avenue, right behind me, and it can be a little dicey with the narrow street there, two-way traffic. The only thing I have to say negative about the traffic mitigation thing, it's a really tough endeavor to do that. 1932 World's Fair, they had a list of 100 things they thought that humanity would achieve by the end of the century. We did every single thing on that list, from open heart surgery to putting a man on the moon, except for solving traffic jams. And being a tech guy, one of the things that I talk about countrywide is the driverless cars and the convergence of augmented reality, looking out your window and having the car, all this glass that you're not using to see the road becoming a screen and things like that. Within the next 10 to 15 years, I would love to see Hicksville as part of a pilot program for driverless, which would be amazing, which that would be the only solution to traffic mitigation, removing the human element from the congestion and the decision making, at least in that zone. So we could have like a concentric bullseye around just the downtown, that maybe cars wouldn't be driverless everywhere, but just passing through that zone for both safety and also for removing the decision making about green lights and things like that. You could see that efficiency come without spending this money in the next decade.
And would you suggest that when driverless cars happen in that green that you're speaking of, that the roads would become narrower?
100%. Yeah, the statistics show that it's safer if the roads are narrower. Right now, the current average width, I think, is 14 feet, something like that. People actually are less crazy, less darting in and out of traffic, less lazy kind of roaming in the lane if the lanes are narrower, according to every statistic I read.
I know that when you spoke, you mentioned that you've been involved in pushing or advancing planning here for a while. So if you look at this list, are there things that you would like to champion above all others?
For me, I can't pick out a specific one. As I look at the entire area, I always said that Hicksville should be a place where people can work, live, play, shop. Residential components, I'm also a trustee for Sonoma Westbury, and we constantly talk with the Chamber of Commerce about how do we attract some of that kind of crowd to come down, participate in the area, do whatever they like to do as far as keeping themselves active, things of that nature. The event pedestrian project, that's absolutely fantastic, but again, I always feel that things go hand in hand with everything else, whether it's companies that are here to attract the right talent. They have issues as far as residential components concerned and other things to do within the area. So I feel that it's all going to connect with each other. But again, that event space, I think that's also important to us.
So out of this list, is there something that you would like to sort of diminish or get rid of?
Absolutely not.
Linda?
So I was very excited about the elevated community space or the pedestrian plaza when we were going through the process of the application. I like the idea of the elevated community space because of the traffic and the parking, getting it up higher, thinking that would help mitigate a little bit. But I think that would be my first two priorities. I like the idea of the downtown path, but I thought the other two would be priorities.
Rose Walker.
I too, well, I agree with Tony, the traffic mitigation is such a major issue. I live over by close to the Westbury side of Hicksville by Uptown Parkway, and at certain times of day, it's completely the other side of Hicksville, which is utterly ridiculous, but it's, the road doesn't move, and up by the train doesn't move, it's a little crazy. Love the idea of the High Line and pedestrian plaza, and I even think some of the things that we tried before, as I said to Rebecca, we had the farmer's market, I think it was great, but it was in a parking lot, but it just, it wasn't very inviting to people who had it. I see how great it does even out of Tanger Outlets. They have a farmer's market out there, and, obviously it's a shopping area, but people are there already, but it's just the whole setup is so different. I'd like to get a little bit more information about the signage. I mean, because that's one of the things in Hicksville where people complain to me about that, they're signed up there for everything. We got glowing things with this and with that. They don't want, I think signage is important, but I think we have to look at how it's done. It's a very big issue. And then we had also talked about possibly in that area to keeping vehicles more out of the area, to have maybe a trolley or something that goes through the area, and people enjoy that too. And, kids love to do that, so family-wise, it's nice to have something like that.
So what I'm hearing right now is that there's a fairly broad support for High Line. There's a strong consensus about traffic mitigation issues. Let me pose a question to you. One of the things that's going to start making a downtown very activated is if you actually have people living in downtown as well. So part of what the proposed 2016 rezoning would do is to allow for higher density residential to be placed in that region. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one thing about traffic. We really could use a reliable bus service going north and south. So people will be driving into Hicksville, they'll be taking a bus in, or if they're working in the office parks of Jericho Syosset, have a reliable bus go from the train station up there, so afterward they come back down. Maybe they'll meet somebody for dinner in Hicksville, walk around the High Line of the elevated plaza and have a great time. But right now we don't have that. Everybody has to drive here to go to Hicksville. We had a reliable bus service. And north and south of Long Island is awful, as we all know. 135, morning or afternoon, Montauk Parkway, Meadowbrook, but a Sagatos is just terrible.
Point taken. Yes.
Yes, and to comment on this, the projects like the elevated community space, the pedestrian plaza, make a lot of sense for Hicksville. That coupled with a program that ties these projects together, much like the Chicago waterfront near downtown, where you have signage and branding that brings about a vibrant community and connects all of these projects as developed as one. Clearly, Councilman McEnroe brings up a very good point. As we look at more parking, we have this tremendous need for buses, trolley, something to handle the north-south traffic. And in terms of traffic mitigation, very, very important to ease congestion without diverting that traffic into residential side streets. We've seen that problem in other parts of Long Island. So we have to be very careful while we ease traffic. We don't move that problem into the residential side streets. But in terms of creating as much community space, event space, the High Line, giving people an opportunity to travel east-west and north-south without using their cars, and this uniform downtown space that draws people as the key destination. I think very helpful in the vision that I've heard in having conversations with so many residents.
So, just building off of that comment, since
I honestly knew the community when I was the business. And I think one of the things that we kept as a business person is the event space, the pedestrian plaza. Joe Salvino just brought out. We as a business person look forward to seeing the people come out at night, whether it's by bus or whatever. And reflect on a community like Huntington, where people come out at night. It's like a city you walk. So in Huntington, they had that street traffic at night, which is important business wise, gives you business service. You said about the walk or whatever, the beginning of the purpose is to come out in the evening, that enhances business. The IHOP has a look at the menu, nonetheless, I know many owners trying it, or the city's trying it, and it's something that you reflect on as a business person, because I think it's a great idea to get them to go out at night, if you can, one way or the other. I think it's important for the community, and we're both people.
Lionel?
And again, just fine with that, if you take a look at it, we have 3 colleges up the road, and a lot of those students really don't have anything to do, so we have to do something to generate that traffic. What the course is, in the middle of the day, you have your lunch crowd, breakfast, whatever the case may be, a lot of people come down, there are different types of restaurants, but something a little bit more concrete to attract that kind of crowd, keep them engaged here in Hicksville, and also seriously take a look at residential components, people actually live there. Yes, absolutely.
So, yes, Phil.
Yeah, pretty much along the same lines of the current discussion. Recently in Hicksville, our main growth industry has been street level parking lots. Each time business goes out of business, it becomes a commuter parking lot, a commuter parking lot. And one of the problems with the night, and several of us have walked, attempted to walk down to Hicksville on Saturday evening along the lines of being out of Huntington, and it's desolate because you just have parking lot empty and vacant. Not only the parking garage, but the day commuter lots, the monthly commuter lots, and it takes up a huge part of the downtown. And as a result, it's kind of desolate, and truck traffic flies through top speed, 7, 8 o'clock at night on Saturday night. So I think the need is to provide parking structures so that we can gradually move away from the surface parking lots that are using up the downtown and hurting our tax base. Because gradually over the last few years, the residential school tax has gradually moved, and I realize this is on part of the reason, but has moved from commercial to residential. So although in many cases we barely raised the school tax went up anyway because it's been gradually shifting from commercial to residential.
So are there populations that aren't in great numbers here in Hicksville that people would be interested in attracting in larger numbers? Like age groups from 2 to 5, or age groups from 18 to, or age groups say 62 and above. Rebecca?
I think there are two opportunities here. I know that we're like waiting for someone to use the M word, right? Millennial. But I actually think there's a
My
dual,
generation.
there's a dual, not mine, I'm too old.
No.
I think there's a dual opportunity here, because I think we have, the boomers and people that are aging out of their larger homes in the surrounding areas, in the suburban areas of Hicksville and surrounding. And I think a walkable area and a place that they can downsize into is a great opportunity as well. It doesn't just have to be about the young people.
I think being the father of two millennials that moved off Long Island because of the opportunities, I think we need young people housing, and fortunately reaching that age, or fortunately reaching an age where I'm looking to downsize. I like to see senior housing there also. Maybe both generations getting together. Next generation housing, senior housing, would be wonderful.
I know there's been experiments to do co-living where you have a 22-year-old person living under the same roof, or they're strangers, with somebody who's in their 60s. Would you think something like that might be embraced?
You're about to sound good.
The beautiful thing about Hicksville, we've got a little bit of everything. Like Councilwoman Leslie alluded to, we've got the young, old, everybody, families, starting off, kicking off, whatever the case may be. And we need to keep that in mind. I know it's not a huge area, we just can't start throwing something together, but again, there should be a little bit of something for everybody, keeping in mind moving forward how the demographics are going to change here. It's always been a spot where over the years things slowly change, and it's going to have a significant impact as far as what we do moving forward. So if we keep that in mind, I think we'll be pretty good.
Ryan?
Yeah, I see a lot of these things as intertwined, but I wanted to comment about, I have an office in Dumbo, Brooklyn. That area just exploded once companies like Etsy and WeWork, which is where I have an office, had a setup. I for one would love to see some kind of space, whether it's not dedicated to it or not, it doesn't really matter, but more places for young entrepreneurs or startups, or even students coming out of those universities are starting to develop their own products, to want to stay here, to be close to where they can work together. So a co-working space to me would be most exciting. I had to struggle to put 3 offices where my employees were, because I couldn't get them to move here. You know what I'm saying? So that's a struggle that I've had to face here, and I think we can solve that problem and bring in more business that would vitalize Hicksville by having the economic benefit of those companies grow from here out, if there was a place for them to congregate and work together.
I have a question. Yeah, Ryan, as a follow-up to that, do you think it would have been easier for you to attract employees or something like that here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
So the third track may help address that.
Yeah. They all say it. All my friends are like, wow, Hicksville really got great homes. And I'm like, you have no idea. If you live here and you're really here every day, the fact that there's 17 different ways to go home to my house from the mall parking lot is incredible. We have great infrastructure. We've got good, amazing restaurants, great businesses, great people. If you talk to your neighbors, you find out that there's these wonderful people with amazing stories all around you for inspiration. My son goes to an amazing school. Everything is incredible here, except for the way that businesses can get together or grow or start or sprawl.
I also represent Farmingdale as part of my district, and I constantly encourage everyone here, go to Farmingdale, go to the village of Farmingdale. I understand the village, deals with different things, but what they have done in that community and how the community has embraced it and how it's really brought their community to a different level is just amazing. And again, I say, look at their buildings. I know one of the big things in Hicksville is, and I brought it up before, we don't want to be Mineola, where the buildings are a lot higher or whatever. We want to still have that suburban feel, but how can we develop that suburban feel and make it the way it should be and really bring growth, so much growth to our community?
I know I've been raising my hand a lot, but again,
It's all fine.
great seeing this come to fruition. When you look at areas such as West John Street, even Duffy Avenue, they call it Duffy Avenue IDA Way because there's so so many more businesses that have been popping up. You're talking hundreds upon hundreds of people that actually work there. When I went to an open house for a manufacturing company that actually came into Hicksville probably about a year and a half ago, I'm talking to him and he goes, I can't attract the right talent. And that's because it's not there, and if you try to pull from elsewhere, there's no place for them to live. There's nothing to do here. So again, I know a lot of people get a little skittish about it, but you need to keep in mind that residential component. Because residential, the ease of being able to move around, transit-oriented development, the events, everything comes together. And I think that's what's a good push to do it right now.
I have to piggyback on that. You talk to the head of Cold Spring Harbor Labs, that's the number one complaint about attracting talent, is there's no place affordable for them to live. I think we have to think about something like that, as revitalization.
Well, that was like, one of the main focuses of this committee. We focused on zone changes as being the critical, thing to attract people. We had originally proposed 3 zones, and we talked about 2 zones, but it's basically the same. Legislative talk about it. People in Hicksville now want to be made over. They want to be more like the Farmingdale model. And that's what the proposed zoning that we had for the store, like stores, townhouses, apartments, condos, with like a 3-story limit. In the commercial district, downtown Hicksville is zoned right now, commercial district 5 stories. We changed that to limit to 4 stories. So, the residents have finally, after many, many years of fighting and pain in Hicksville, have gotten on board, and had 2 public meetings about proposed zoning changes. One meeting was, everybody was really in favor. The next meeting, you had some, you had the naysayers come out. But the general feeling in Hicksville as residents, now's the time, it's time to change, redevelop the downtown area. We want it. And, he talked about Duffy Avenue. I live in the Duffy Park area. I walk Duffy Avenue every day. And that, in the last couple of years, you had New York Community Bank redevelop the plaza area. You have Ziotronics renovate a building, completely redo a building beautifully. The other commercial buildings owned by Long Island Industrial Management Corp, they've redone their facades. So most of the commercial buildings on Duffy Avenue are really good now. The only problem now with Duffy Avenue I'm trying to address is the flow of traffic. There's been a lot of traffic on Duffy Avenue because you have so many businesses that are occupied. But that's good.
Greg, you have a comment?
There's a lot of talk about Farmingdale. Farmingdale, about 10 years ago, was pretty much a lot of empty storefronts. Businesses were really struggling. I'm a resident of Farmingdale. I live there most of the time. My law practice is there in the heart of the village of Farmingdale. And about 10 years ago, I was the village attorney. I had the opportunity to actually start out at the time and advise the board and the ability to do some planning. And the person we brought into the village of Farmingdale was Eric Alexander. And we started a visioning process there. And it evolved over time, over the period of 10 years that we have now. It's a great community. There's been a lot of building. But we've also learned right now in the village of Farmingdale, we're bringing all these people in. So we need to have a lot of sensitivity as to how we, some of the challenges we have now. We have some new challenges. New challenges such as our ability to move in and out of the village. We continue to make improvements with different traffic patterns, but parking is horrendous. One of the challenges we have in farms is we don't have any parking garages. But it's something that we're going to, this is a much grander level. But challenges we find that through the course of the day is very difficult to move in and out, even as residents. We now live in the apartment buildings. We want to get to the businesses. The businesses actually struggle to get their clients into them. So it's just some simple observations. A lot changed in a very short period of time. We've seen the challenges having empty storefronts. So now we have a very populated village with a lot of people moving in and out, but having difficulties with parking being one of our biggest issues. Traffic mitigation, a component of the traffic mitigation, anything.
Just to dovetail to those comments, we have had many conversations with the stakeholders, with the residents here in Farmingdale to share their vision, but we have to do it while learning about the best practices from places like Farmingdale and Patchogue and other communities that have gone through this sort of renaissance. And in terms of keeping the look and feel of the Hicksville downtown, for instance, we met with the governor's team, the MTA, to get more brick included in the look, and different looks that kept the design of the railroad station compatible with the look of downtown Hicksville. We share that development idea, and we're with them. I think that's a big important component, but we have to continue to keep the traffic mitigation very high on the list, and again, not to divert traffic through the residential communities, because that would create a new problem.
What? There's one.
Just again, listen to what everybody, and I think a few slides back, you had the notion that the focal point is your transition at the Hicksville station. So if you're going to have that, and you have 16,000 meters going through the Hicksville station, and you want to have all these things, plus the residential component for the commuters, for the millennials and all that, I think we have to go beyond 4 or 5 stories, because downtown by itself, I don't think it's going to maintain that sort of suburban feel. It has to be more urban sort of feel to it. So we need to go. We have to think beyond 5 stories, 6 stories, whatever those kind of things. Yes, it should blend in with the rest of the community, but I think that downtown itself should have not skyscraper and all that, but in order to incorporate all this housing and millennials and all that, so we have to go beyond that.
The scale is one of those things that we as architects are very sensitive to, how to manipulate. And one of the things that we would like to have you help us understand better is, since we're looking to do a lot of different things, would it be best to concentrate and build tall in a small spot as opposed to spreading things out over a large spot?
I know that's not what the residents want.
I want to word
I
tall.
can tell you,
Yeah.
not anymore, not at all.
Yeah, let me jump in. I was going to be quiet, but look, we've been through this 6, 7 years, a whole lot of us, and 3- and 4-story buildings in that zone, 500, 600 units, whatever, they really don't want to be. You heard it. Rose said it. Rebecca said it. Tony said it. Others have said it. Folks don't want to be Mineola, but they really do like Farmingdale, and the issue too is rebuilding trust. That the first few projects need to be at the scale and quality that benefits everybody, so that folks see genuine change versus plans on top of plans on top of plans for a lot of years. And the final comment I've made that is also critical, and I think ideas like Highline and public spaces have all been through the process that we've seen with hundreds of residents through the years. It's also improving the street level conditions for walkability. Is key, because no matter what, you're not going to get everybody elevated to walk up, no matter how impressive the facility is. You're going to have street level people walking, biking, or trying to cross, and you need to improve those conditions to have a real functioning downtown. And I think we hear this stuff regularly from people on the street and people at meetings. So we just want to make sure that the scale works, there's safety, and that there's overall improvement in the way that we heard from the public. But you'll hear more of that as we go.
Most definitely. I want to make certain I've heard from everybody. So, John, do you have a comment you'd like to contribute? Oh, I'm Jerry. It says John. I'm sorry.
I agree with everyone. It's not a diplomatic statement, but I would definitely like to have a discussion further. European style building, 4 or 5 stories, fine. We can have a high-end apartment, high-end stories, and nice restaurants. So family can go there, or a nice pedestrian area, road style, that kind of thing. I feel the Farmingdale is beautiful, and a lot of other places also may be the same. I think that would be more attractive. But we have to look at the traffic. It's very important. So, bus idea, I like it. like a shekel, or it could be like $1 or $2 if you charge or something like that from the train station. That will reduce a lot of cars coming to the places. The people that park in the area, especially in the community. A lot of people, they go to the city and all that, so you will see a lot of hired people that will be moving in the area, especially if we have a high apartments, like in that area, nice shopping.
John, do you have a comment you'd like to?
Well, I was lost after 5 stories. Sorry, that's not the feel of Hicksville and what the residents and the planning is interested in going forward. What I'm really interested in capturing, I know there's a lot of talk of developing housing and businesses for the downtown. As you said earlier in your slides, Hicksville is a focal point for traffic. So if there's some proposal or some way to capture people going to and from work, maybe they stop and have something to eat with friends. I'd like to hear ideas in that regard because it could be a very big economic engine for the downtown, which would spur more businesses to come and participate on that plan.
Are there any other comments from the forum?
I was just mentioning, when you go to areas like Patchogue, Farmingdale, Huntington, when you drive in, you know you're in a downtown. The aesthetics are also important. You want people to realize they're going to go through their home. When they hit it, they know they're in downtown. They know what their expectations are. I can hang out here, I can do stuff, I can go to restaurants. People are living here, people are walking. And that also gives you that idea to slow down. Eric was very correct. Again, it's very important to keep that pedestrian, of course. When you talk about a pedestrian, you want to make sure that's throughout the entire downtown area. If you ever take a look at you just going through the train station in the morning, and then you go back at night, later on at night, you wouldn't dare walk out by yourself. I wouldn't do it. So again, we need to take a look at that, make sure people, you say, are not playing forward, trying to get across the streets and going every which way. When things are a little bit more orderly, if you focus on that, it's going to work out good.
Well, to help me understand a little bit better, since I'm learning, this place, where could you point me to in Hicksville where there is that pedestrian feel or the way that people move from store to store?
You had that feeling back in the 60s.
Plainview Shopping Center?
You widened Broadway and Woodbridge and isolated, actually destroyed the downtown area and isolated it. That's when you started seeing the exodus of the businesses and more, as Bill pointed out, surface parking lots being put in when the businesses closed. So that, you had that feel back in the 60s. I grew up in Hicksville, and my friends and I used to walk from our house, about a mile, into the downtown area. We'd go to the movies, we'd go to the bakery, we'd walk to church. So we had that feeling before Broadway and Woodbridge was wide, and just basically destroyed the downtown area.
So if you were to identify today where downtown Hicksville is, what would you say its location is?
Broadway has these buildings that were there since the 20s. And the other side is a hodgepodge of development that doesn't make it feel like a downtown area. So, the committee, when we look at it, we say zoning changes. We want that change, the downtown area to have, back in the 60s and 50s, you had, storefronts and residential apartments above it. That was part of the focus of the committee, in changing the zoning, to bring back that feeling. You have store ownership, and you have apartments or condos or townhouses above them. And then that way you do get people living in the downtown area, being able to work in Manhattan, walk to the train station. I live in the Duffy Park area. I used to walk to the train station. I'm only half a mile less than, a little bit over half a mile from the train station. But people don't do that anymore. It's like Duffy Avenue is a lot of traffic, and it's, you know, sometimes it's a little bit dangerous to walk that up.
It's funny because if you look at the pictures from years ago, you had the stores, the apartments above it. And then you look at a recent picture, it's gone. It's a parking lot, it's one building. Whether additions are, I think it was, going out of cable, it needs to go right back to the way it was before, just a different format. Updated, newer, we're not gonna bring back what it looked like in the 60s in total. But again, where we can, we should be able to say, okay, yes, this is downtown Hicksville, and add to the building, because the businesses are gonna benefit, people are gonna spend money, they're gonna live there, they're gonna keep an eye out for the area, things are gonna automatically get cleaned up, and people are gonna respect where they live.
Town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, where it's, first floor is restaurants, villas, second one's offices, third and fourth are apartments or condos. Something like that would be perfect. That people will be able to get into the city if they want, or bring business back into Hicksville.
There's a great YouTube video called "But the Cars Were Happy" about all the decisions that were made from the 60s and that kind of time to everything with widening the roads, creating more space for them. All the decisions to sprawl further outward because everybody had cars and were driving further to make these different lifestyles a reality for themselves. And I agree, going back the other direction for mixed-use space, mixed-use zoning is the only answer, especially for people my age. That's what we want. So we go to Huntington and walk around all those places. We'll drive a crazy hour out of the way to Long Beach just to get that feel. It'll be awesome to do that here.
Just another follow-up, if you don't want to go. Just another follow-up on the farming deal, and this goes off what the commentary made. With respecting the trust of the community and rebuilding that trust, one of the things that made farming deals successful with regard to the community was that the community said, we don't want 5-story, 4-story buildings. And we have some 4-story buildings in Farmingdale. And as they built up the village, and it's tight in the village of Farmingdale, the board recognized that it was only right to approve projects that were essentially 3-story buildings, and they kept within that. The community's been very receptive to it. We're one of the most densely populated municipalities as far as apartments are concerned. It does seem to be working, but it's having the right project at the right speed in redoing it. And the proof is in the pudding. I mean, the village now has almost a 0 occupancy rate with regard to the Main Street makeup. And people are happy with regard to what's going on here. But it is being really sensitive to and respecting the input of the community, not talking about 5 or 6-story buildings at this point.
I want to return to what your original question was, which is where do we see our Main Street? That's really the struggle. I assume you asked that because you kind of need to know it for, full focusing. I think the struggle, to me, the natural area is that, like, the sweet shop, you've got the donut, there is a natural center of commerce. But I think what everyone is saying is you can't get from there to the hub, to the train station, without taking your life in your hands. So I think in terms of what the focal area is, that's just my opinion. I'm sure other people at this table have 30 other opinions. But I know you were looking specifically for a sort of a geographic boundary. I don't know what anyone else thinks, but
I mean, I could tell you for all the Hicksville people, I mean, the sweet shop is the sweet shop. I mean, people can go into the sweet shop forever. And one of the things that they first came to the meeting that, we're not going to lose the owners of the sweet shop, and we promised them no, not to worry about that. But you're right, that was a place full. I mean, when you go there, you go to the movies. I mean, I must have seen A Hard Day's Night 57 times. But you could stay in that movie theater all day and see it 6 times in a row.
I did the same thing with French Connection.
But you would go and you would, we had our downtown, and now, I mean, I have little grandchildren now that live in Hicksville, and, I mean, do I take them to the sweet shop? Yes, but you know what, I figure out where I can park it. I'm not walking up and down that area because it's a main road with heavily traffic and trucking, and, it's, I think, like Rebecca said, I see us sort of having to kind of reinvent our sort of downtown and our focal area where we have, the High Line, where we have pedestrian plaza, where we have places that we can enjoy in an area. And, possibly somehow making, whether someday it's crosswalks over a road or something, but, because those roads aren't going to disappear, you know, sometimes people say, well, we need to bring it back, well, it's not going back there, you know, that was a great time, but, you know, in the name of progress, those roads were widened and to get the traffic through our community, because people couldn't stand the fact that you couldn't get through, there was so much traffic. So now we sort of have to reinvent our spaces, and I do believe now is the time, people are ready, but trust is a big thing, and we know what the community wants, we know what they do not want. So talking high, out of there.
Well, there are two things I'd like to do before we conclude at 10:30. One is to, as they do housekeeping, and establish what our next steps will be for our regular meetings for the LPC. But also I'd like to invite the public who has generously decided to spend their time with us today as observers to actually comment on some of the things that we've been talking to. So at this point, let me just open it up to the general public for their comment. Sir? Could you just state your name?
Yes, John Lawrenson, the Hicksville Garden Civic Association. I've been a member of, well, resident of Hicksville for going on many years. I've heard a lot of comments about where we are, and I think that has an important point to be made in the status of Hicksville right now. Okay. Where is this town? And this town is all over the map. It's followed directions over the past 50 years, being pulled in one direction and the other by various projects that have existed over the years. The Mid-Island Mall, as most people I would call it, the Broadway Mall today, the lack of Sears today, the lack of Grumman today, all of these issues have forced Hicksville one way or the other. The burning down of the what was it called? The flea market over there. Nassau, what was it called? Farmers Market. That was a big thing in Hicksville. The Farmers Market was a great draw for a lot of people. They came to visit this place. It burned down. The mall was great when it really existed in its heyday. It doesn't do well anymore because it's lost most of its anchor stores. They exist, but they're not really putting money into there. Macy's doesn't even have doors that open automatically. You have to push them to get in. Sears is dead. You know, this place is in a status of they don't know which way to go, which way to follow. The last anchor we had was before the state came in and destroyed the middle of the town by putting in 106, 107, whatever else they decided had to be to build to, and the railroad, and the Long Island Railroad, to accomplish their goals, not the people of Hicksville's goals, the goals of these projects that they saw coming down the pike. Well, those projects came and went. They didn't work out. Broadway Mall was no longer, Broadway Mall started out as one of the first major malls on Long Island. It didn't last because Roosevelt Field took over, 110 takes over, they attract higher level anchor stores, and they're existing now. And Long Island and you know, the Mid-Island Mall died. And the Broadway Mall, it's not that great anymore. Chick-fil-A is drawing crowds like crazy. You can't get close to it. Now,
So we definitely need more.
I'm sorry.
It sounds like we need more things that can attract a lot of people and find a way to position them in this downtown area that we're focusing on.
But-
Is that what I'm hearing you say?
But in the important fact is, first, decide what you want the town to look like in the future. And then decide these opportunities that come along, pick the ones that match your ideal of what you'd like to see. And stop drawing things in that just happen. Oh, we're going to invest some money. We're going to develop. We're going to build Sears into a 5-story farmhouse. Is that really what we want? Has anybody really determined, is that our goal or is that developing goal?
Developers don't know.
Well, sir, that's very sound advice, and that's particularly what the DRI process is about, is to establish the vision for what the citizens here in Hicksville would like to see, and then put into place a plan to encourage that kind of investment so it can be implemented. So I hope that you see things coming out of this process that you would like to support. Yes.
Hi, my name is Susan Petrosillo. I'm a member of the Hicksville Garden Civic Association. I was part of the Revitalization Committee over the past years with Eric Alexander and many people that are here. I just wanted to say when we had the last 2 meetings over at the high school, we had almost 500 people there. You don't usually get 500 people come out to Hicksville for anything. But they came out for this because they do want us to move forward. Our Civic has 430 families, which is over 1,000 people, give or take. And what we took into consideration during all of these meetings is what the people of Hicksville want. Not what somebody else thinks we want, not what somebody else thinks is a good idea, but what the people here want to live with and be part of a community every day. So when we talked about how many levels high a building should be, and they said, well, it's five stories, we know the people because we talk to them all the time in the civics and all the different civics. They don't want that. They're so adamant. I mean, we knew that, and we discussed it, and we said, well, suppose we bring it down to 3 or 4. Is that something that you could live with? And I would say the vast majority said yes, that's something they could deal with. They didn't want, and they didn't use Mineola and say Queens. We don't, excuse me, we don't want Queens. We don't want Mineola. We're Hicksville. We have a history here. We don't need somebody else saying, oh, this is what Hicksville has been in existence for many years. I've been here 37 years. And many times, you know, you kind of lose, they say, well, it's never going to get done. It's never going to get done. But we're moving forward, and we appreciate people's input. But in the final outcome, it has to be what the people here can live with, and what makes us function as a vibrant community. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Ma'am?
My name is Irene Rossi. I'm also
Here to stand up for us? Thank you.
I'm also a member of the Hicksville Garden Civic Association and a member of the Revitalization Committee. And over the years, we've talked to many people, especially at the Hicksville Fair in the summer, and people are not happy with the downtown area. So we know it has to change. And it has to be a well-thought-out plan, not, which is the direction we're going in. It seems to be, we have a lot of people involved who have done this before, so I'm very happy to see that we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you very much. Sir?
I'm John Abadi. I'm a commercial real estate broker. I'm also a resident of Hicksville, so I'm here I have personal interest and professional as well. I just want to say, I think the most essential thing is, I know we don't want tall buildings, but housing is essential in some way. Because you need to attract optimal tenants for retail. And without that, I'm a millennial. I don't always spend money. It's got to be attractive, it's got to be up and coming, or else you're not going to get what you want.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Rachel Whitmore. I'm a resident of Plainview, and I've commuted probably for 12 years with, the LIR as a major hub. And it was actually interesting for me to listen today and to hear, I think all these ideas in terms of how to change it, change the area and build it up. And there were several points that I thought were significant, 3 specifically. And I think philosophically, all the concepts that you have laid out here, have a role and would significantly create an impact on the area. And I think also getting the input from people who have lived in the area for many years, and for me, not being a resident of Hicksville, obviously I come from a very different perspective, so I'm taking that into consideration as well. But also, I think one of the things that hit, and I think Rebecca also mentioned it when asked, is to really look at things from, as much as we want the High Line and walking areas, and I think all that is amazing, is really to look at making sure we take this from the bottom up. And where do we put people in terms of where is our parking, where are the structures? Looking at, I think, like you just said, the people who live here now and considering kind of their well-being and their health, and how they're living, and ensure they can continue living in a way that's even potentially better than they are living now. And I think Ryan really raised some significant points in terms of where we want to go and where the future actually is. And I think that inevitably, like any business, looking at where they need to go, you can't always do everything. And if there's, specific kind of parameters that we need to put on to, and we say, okay, here are our goals and we want to get there, I think that will set the filters for what really needs to be done moving forward. And I think the truth is, and I think Rebecca also said it, people don't want to hear it, and, it might not be even as relevant to me, but I think for the town development and bringing money in, and it is, in a sense, millennials, and giving them a place. I mean, people move in. I mean, think about Hoboken. When I had moved into the city, I lived in a dump because it was affordable, but tons of people just moved across to Hoboken because it was dirt cheap at the time, a while ago, because they were developing it, and they developed a downtown, they developed an area. Again, they could put bigger buildings in, and I think that's, they knew what they wanted, and they reached it. Anyway, so that's, and I think, but again, like a WeWork, that's what everybody's doing now. I just stopped working in the city. So now, I'm working from home, but to have, I think, that kind of community, Hicksville has a huge opportunity for it. But I really do think ultimately that if we don't look at it from making sure there's places to park, parking isn't just for people who live here. I could never get a parking spot because I had to put my kids on the bus. So I think we need to be sure we still have those opportunities, for people to have, somewhere to go before we look at, let's build a High Line, let's get the infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Sir?
Hi, good morning. Mike Rivolo with the Hicksville Chamber of Commerce.
Say it right.
Sorry, President of the Hicksville Chamber. They made me do it. So I have a business here in Hicksville. I live in a neighboring town of Syosset, so I'm coming in and out of Hicksville either for work or for personal reasons on the weekends. Hicksville has a ton to offer right now, right? We have something, I think we have a combination of things that possibly almost no other town on Long Island has, between the rail, the roads, the highways. It's really a unique situation. But the thing that makes a town thrive, right, are the ability to attract families and the quality of life that you can demonstrate in the town, which is where I think we're all trying to focus and try to rejuvenate. One of the things that everybody has said, and I think it's a key factor, is the aesthetics of the town. It's not an attractive place right now. The storefronts are a mishmash of new things and very, very old, dated-looking things. Not charming old, but, unfortunately, dated old. The roads, which I understand the history of how they got there, they're not pretty to drive through. You know, you have a lack of trees, they're dirty, they're just, you know, you drive through the town, it's not an attractive place. And I think that is a major area where we could boost the draw of the town to residents by making it a more attractive place to come through. For all of the work that's been done to make the roads as large as they are, traffic is a killer. On east, west, north, south, during the busy times of day, you can't get through. And my observation, because I'm on those roads every day, including weekends, it's a traffic pattern issue. The lights are designed to keep you from moving. And I think if you resolve the traffic patterns and you improve the throughput, those roads, they will be less congested, and I think they'll be better in terms of safety. The commuter pedestrian safety issue is tremendous. I almost kill somebody every night when I'm driving home. The people that run across the road.
Yeah, thank you for your failure.
Yeah, but you know, I worry. It's a matter of time because the people are running across the road. They're from the city. They're in their dark suits. I have terrible eyesight to begin with. Forget about adding all of that. So that is, to me, a tremendous factor that we have to deal with, is the ability to safely cross the roads for the commuters, but also, somebody mentioned, you know, crossways over the roads for the pedestrians. I think that that's going to be something that if you want people to walk around, they have to have the ability to walk around, and they're not going to get through the intersections. I mean, I just try to go from my store to 7-Eleven, literally the next corner, and I hope I have enough insurance. It's hard. And my last thought is and this is a toughie, the thing that really does draw families is open public spaces. I don't know enough about the Highline design to know if that's going to be the answer to that. I feel like people are more drawn to ground level spaces, things that they can walk to and see every day. That is typically the kind of thing that will draw young people and families to a place.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your comments. We appreciate hearing directly from people. It's an important part of our planning and design process. Now I'd just like to do a bit of housekeeping here. We selected today at 8:30 in the morning to start for this very first LPC meeting. But amongst the members, what day of the week, what time of day would you prefer? Rebecca?
My office has overwhelmingly heard from residents that would appreciate evening meetings so that they can attend.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. Okay. So, starting 5:30, 6:30, 7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock? Okay. Is there a particular day of the week that you guys prefer to do?
Thursday.
Thursdays?
I would just make a comment on the night, not the night, but the day. A lot of these Hicksville Community Council meets on the first Thursday. Right. Hicksville Garden Civic meets on the second Thursday. You know, you have on a Monday night, What's Blessed is the third Monday. I'm not sure what Midland Civic is. My civic is kind of in the flux. We don't really have them met, but you have to be conscious of when the Civic Association meets. When scheduling these meetings, plus when you schedule the public meetings. Now next week, if you put our public meeting, you actually conflict with the Hicksville Garden Civic Association, which several members are here, and they usually have a very good turnout at their meetings.
Or maybe that's not so terrible, Paul. Maybe the people already have it on their calendars to come to a civic meeting. It's easy to say to them, hey, come to the community forum.
I'd like to hear from the civic people then.
I think if you give people enough heads up, they can plan a book and start to get to the meeting. When it came in front of each other, who's got what's going on in this town.
I'll see you guys on Sunday.
That's like Tuesday.
Have the town board.
One other quick comment on
website regarding the Hicksville DRI. On the first page, the dates, time for the next meeting, the right thing is on it says May 22nd.
Okay, so we'll take that one. Which is the first step. So that's what they're going to do.
For the LPC meetings, that's what we're talking about now, is when would the local planning committee meet regularly? Sounds like we're talking at least at 7 p.m. We're also looking at...
It's for this group, but we're talking about the public, so it sounds like there's two different potential audiences.
All the meetings are.
I'd like to suggest that we pick a night in the fall. 3 2-hour meetings. This way, because it's like herding cats to try and.
How about the third Thursday of the month?
Works for me. Something like that.
Fine, works for me. Same here.
At least if you have another organization that normally would be here, then at a particular time in the meeting, we give them the opportunity for those meetings to change the location or whatever. Because I know the Garden Civic really just found out that public meeting here is on the same night as there.
Eric, we had talked earlier before we started about actually pushing the next meeting back a week, because giving people enough
Thinking
time.
about the public workshop or something like that, LPC meeting.
Well, the LPC meeting, I think we had that the next one up on 9.
That's the public workshop.
Public workshop. We talked about moving that meeting back a week earlier. Seems like it's kind of short notice.
That'd be a good idea.
And that would be the third Thursday.
I think it's worth mentioning that something that we ran in Newsday this morning announcing the public meeting.
I don't want to switch it because it's already been out there. People are upset because of this one. They were like, oh, okay, there's something going on the 9th, and I think people
The question is, it would certainly be nice to give the public more lead time, but is it more confusing now that it's been added? I didn't look at the time, it's been advertised in Newsday this morning.
I think it's been a Newsday issue.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that on Thursday,
Next Thursday
the
is-
local planning committee, the third Thursday of the month is where we think we should hold the meetings.
Third Thursday of the month is
At
Thanksgiving.
7 p.m. start time.
The August meeting would be the 16th.
The 16th of November. Yes, ma'am.
Wouldn't it be better Wednesday at 7? Because there's not that many conflicts?
It's to the local planning committee here to make that decision.
I suggest.
Wednesday's.
No, Wednesday's
Wednesday's what?
all meetings are on Wednesday.
So stand still. Third Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. for the local planning committee. So we'll do that in November, December, January, February, okay?
I think, as Karen just pointed out, I think the next third Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Thursday is Thanksgiving. Fourth.
So one of the other pieces of housekeeping we have is for all of the members of the local planning committee, there is a document, it's a code of conduct, which talks to the behavior expectations that the city of New York has for participating in this committee. It pretty much boils down to always act in the public interest, not on a personal interest. So what Jim McCaffrey is handing out right now is a form that all members of the local planning committee need to sign and return to Jim. So if you want to take a moment or two to read it over, and feel not, take it home, read it, and then get it back to Jim before the end of the week.
Does everyone have Jim's? Jim, do you want to give out your Colin, your email address?
Yeah, I gave everyone on the
Dave, just one thought before we close. The two big infrastructure issues are the railroad and the two state highways from around there. We've got good representation today from the railroad. I think we should have representation from the state DOT at our future meetings also, because I think a lot of the conversation is going to be revolving around the conflict between the pedestrians and the traffic in those two roads. And I think we could go around in circles with ideas, but if we don't have their buy-in, it's not a problem.
Yeah, Dave, we do have a couple of contacts from DOT, and they will be attending future.
Okay, good.
Does anybody have any final comments they would like to share with us today?
Yes. I'd like to thank everyone for participating. This is very important to Renaissance in Hicksville, as well as the town of Oyster Bay. And I believe this is a very good start to something that will be a very productive process.
I want to thank everybody for taking their time this morning to join us, and in particular, I want to thank all the observers for coming. I know that, again, this is an awkward time for some people's schedules, so we do appreciate the decision that you made to participate. And I encourage everybody to participate at the next public workshop, which is on November 9, still, starting at 5 o'clock, right here in this room. So see you then, and thank you.